Welcome to Digital Dominators, the podcast that helps small business owners grow their confidence, sharpen their digital skills, and actually enjoy showing up online. I'm Sooz, your host, tech coach, and digital cheerleader, and every week I chat with brilliant experts to bring you practical tips, smart strategies, and the tools and tech to make business easier. From social media marketing to websites, content to confidence, AI to automation, we're breaking it down into simple steps you can actually use. If you're ready to make things simpler and more successful in your digital world, you're in the right place. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to Digital Dominators, the podcast where we break down the digital systems, mindsets, and strategies that help you grow a business that's profitable, purposeful, and designed your way. In today's episode, we're challenging a long-standing assumption about success in business, that if you want to grow, you need a full-time team or be one yourself. But there's a better, more flexible way and more future-proof way. Rebecca Leppard is the founder of Upgrading Women, a trailblazing organisation that helps experienced women land high-impact fractional leadership roles in the businesses that need them most. She's on a mission to make modern work more inclusive, more adaptable, and more powerful by showing both individuals and businesses that full-time isn't the only path to progress. With a background in PR, brand strategy, and community building, Rebecca now works at the intersection of women empowerment, future of work, and flexible business models, helping brilliant women work smarter and helping businesses tap into top talent without breaking the budget. In this episode, we're diving into why the fractional model is gaining momentum, how it's transforming hiring and leadership, and what it means for the future of work, not just for women, but for everyone who's rethinking how we work, lead, and live. So let's get into it. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, happy to be here.
Thanks for joining me today. I've been really looking forward to this conversation because there's been so much buzz around the word fractional, especially over the last few years. I think that kind of post-COVID, it's really come into the forefront, and it's been a real great opportunity for people to move into that space. So I think it's a great topic for us to discuss in more detail. So what I like to ask the guests to do is to reintroduce themselves and tell us a little bit of how you got to where you are today. Tell us your history. How did you get up to the point of doing fractional and then supporting women into fractional work?
Yes. So I have been a working woman since just before I graduated university. So I've never stopped working full time all the way until I had all three of my children. And of course, as my career progressed, I went all the way up to senior leadership team in big corporate. And at the time, I was 35 years old, and I was already at the top of the rank, so to speak. And I was like, okay, is this it? And if I have to then stay in this exact position for the next 25 years until I retire, it's a bit grim. So I thought, oh, maybe I can pursue other stuff like building a small business and all my creative outlet, because I have been entrepreneurial. And I think it is also ironically something that is useful in a corporate setting, to have an employee that is entrepreneurial. But at the same time, with the pressure and the challenges of corporate structure, it wasn't possible for me to have any other side hustle, right? So I thought, okay, let's just drop off the game completely. And then I pursue so many other things. I tried building an event company. I even had my almond milk brand direct to consumer. So it's been really, really fun. But now I notice a lot of people, especially women in my generation, 35 plus, that is feeling the same itch. Like, okay, I've done the university and corporate role, and now what? What's next for me? Because back in the day, not back in the day, back in the previous generation, people stopped working at 50, but now the retirement age is already, go all the way to 67. So now when you're 30 plus, you're like, oh my God, I still have more decades in front of me. I have to think, right? So I see and I recognize a lot of my peers are experiencing the same itch, the same like, do I stay in the safety net of a corporate job, or do I branch out and do I go back to like my old passion, like painting, singing, dancing, all that creative stuff? So when the pandemic hit, of course, it was horrible. I lost so many best friends, so many family members. But the one thing that was kind of lifted from a lot of corporate people's eyes, actually, we don't have to go to the office 9 to 5 or 9 to 9, actually, in reality. So because we were forced to rethink the way we work logistically, we then were forced to as well getting to know ourselves. Like, when is actually our best timing to work? Is it the morning or is it nighttime? Do we work better with music or total silence? So we got to know each other. We got to know ourselves and we got to know each other. We see each other's kitchens for the first time. We see each other's live environment. Like, oh, I didn't know you just got twins 3 weeks ago. So the house is a mess and all these different stuff. People are now the line between work and life has become so blurred, and the line between working for money and actually living your passion, now it has become so entangled that people are not happy to just accept the work, retire, and die framework, right? So at the same time, in the past couple of years, we know that with general election everywhere or going on everywhere, the economy is going to shamble. The companies, the small, medium-sized companies, are also struggling with their growth because, you know, when business is good, you can grow, but then only at a certain point where you have to then really then hire people, right? At the same time, you don't have enough margin to actually hire headcounts. So I see these two from the talent side, that we are now itching to work in a different way. And I also see that the startup world, the medium-sized companies, are struggling to fulfill their talent needs because they only have a certain budget. But if they hire a junior person, then it will not help their growth. So all of that dilemma. And I thought, oh, actually, there's door number two, where the senior corporate people who have the expertise and then more importantly, experience, because experience is something that you cannot trade with your MBA or PhD. And at the same time, you also crave for that flexibility where you can spend more time doing other things, pursuing other stuff, not just that one lane of corporate job. So having dream as a fractional marketer myself and seeing that actually the business world also can also only afford to pay senior talent at a part-time level, then this is match made in heaven. So I'm now spreading the gospel to a lot of people who are still not familiar with the concept, because like, hey, again, there's door number two. You don't have to get stuck with your budget. And to the senior seasoned people, hey, you don't have to get stuck in your corporate job if you want to branch out. So there it is. Here I am now building the community of people like me who's had 15, 20 years of work experience, but have had enough with corporate politics, especially.
That's such a great journey, Rebecca. Thank you for going into that in so much detail. So I want to break it down really simply. And what exactly would you describe a fractional role to be? And how does it differ from freelance, consultant, or part-time work? Because there is differences there. And I've seen almost fractional and consultancy used interchangeably. So it'd be good to just get clarity from your point of view of what those different roles are, especially that kind of gig work as well. Like, how does all of these things differ?
Yes. So, yes, the world is now familiar with the gig economy, which is great. So, the difference between fractional and consultant and freelancer and part timer and or digital nomad, all these different kinds of way of working these days is the level of in depth, the level of depth that one goes into the company. So, for example, a freelancer or a gig person will work on a project base in terms of like one delivery. For example, I need a website delivered, or I need a social media post delivered, I need a report delivered. That's one scope, and that's it. That freelancer or project person does not care how that particular task that they are doing affect the entire ecosystem of the company. All they care about is the delivery of that output is the best that they can do. Whereas a part-time versus full-time, usually it is more of a time commitment. And with part-time, it can apply to from entry level all the way to a senior level. Now, I would use part-time executive with fractional executive interchangeably rather than fractional and consultancy. And this is why a consultant is almost like a freelancer, but in an advisory mode, not delivery mode. And they also only look at the service level of a certain problem. So a consultant is brought in to solve one particular problem. They do the audit, they do recommendation, and that's it. Whereas fractional, we go under the hood, and not only that we say, oh, there's something wrong with the engine, but we also get our hands dirty and fix it for them. So the level of commitment, belonging, and also the fact that fractional is embedded in the organization, it's so very different to a consultant. Like the consultant doesn't care what company culture. So because the consultant just follow his or her consultancy culture, but a fractional have to code switch. Like, for example, me, I'm a fractional in two different companies. When I am working on company A, the way I communicate, the way I do my research, the way I lead my team is according to that company's particular culture, and the other way around. So it's almost like from the point of view of the team, they almost like have a full-time employee who's just absent for half of the time. But they feel the camaraderie, they feel the hustle, the juggle, the grind. So it's not like whereas a consultant would be like a helicopter, land and then leave when they finish. That's the difference. And usually, yes, fractional would be contracted on a slightly longer period of time. Usually it could be 6 to 12 months. And it is not only to solve one or two problems, but to actually take them. It's almost like a doula. It takes them from, let's say the company is growing from 50 to 500 employees. The fractional takes them from that growing pain all the way to 500, whereas a consultant would come and say, okay, so you need 500 employees, 5 in this department, 10 in this department, and that in the department, and you need this kind of job specification. But the fractional really then be with you all the way until you give birth, like a doula.
I love that. You've explained that so much clearer than I think a lot of people have really understood, because I think they just have associated, and I've seen this a lot with female founders, they've just associated that as a thing that they're doing now, which is a service that they're providing, which is fractional work, but really going all in like they would be as an employee. But actually maybe they're a bit mixture between that consultant and fractional. So I think that anyone listening or watching this, having that clarity allows you to go in as that person, that individual, and be really clear on what you want your outcomes to be as part of that role as well. So it helps on both sides, and also any company that's looking for fractional workers to know exactly what they expect from that fractional work as well. So thank you for being clearer on that. And I wanted to ask around, is there more specific types of roles that you're finding that are fractional? Like, is it more in the marketing? Is it more kind of those kind of female-led roles? What are you seeing? What's happening within that fractional space?
So, firstly, fractional roles in the US has been popular for over a decade now. So, it's pre-pandemic. So, it's always been there as an offer because, as we know, especially in the Silicon Valley company culture, their growth is really like in a light speed, right? So if you can imagine, it's almost like a Lego set where if you are a company from employee number 1 to employee number 5, you need a certain senior leadership team that is really, really familiar with the grind from not to one, right? And then because the way of thinking, the way we're being scrappy from not to one is so different from when your company is suddenly funded and you have to then from 5 employees to 50, then you probably will need, not probably, definitely, you will need a different set of senior leadership team. And that is from finance to marketing to operation to sales, everything that is in your C suite. You're going to need a different kind of player for when you're expanding from 5 to 50. And then when you're 50 to 500. And then, of course, when you're already 500 to 5,000, and you can imagine the complexity, right? And the potential risk and crisis that will happen, then you need a different set of people that have had handle that level of complexity. But at the same time, those people who have handled, the likes of PepsiCo, Unilever, if they were asked to be a fractional in a company that is a 5 people band, they would not be able to make it because they don't know how to operate with zero budget, right? And it has to be super scrappy. And at the same time, the scrappy people, they don't find it enjoyable to manage bajillion-dollar budget. So, and at the same
It's so
time,
true.
yeah, exactly. So it is more like a plug and play system where you cannot expect the same CFO that took you from nothing to 1 million revenue, and for him to be able to follow the way of thinking of a scale up where this is like you expand the market. You're not only selling in your country anymore. You're now thinking about supply chains, all of that jazz. You need a different player. And it's only fair for all of us. It's not like, well, why don't you just promote from within? Yeah, fair enough. But again, in today's world, the growth is so fast that it's not like in the 80s and 90s where you can grow with the company. But these days, no, you have to change the players every time. You're like, when you're a CEO or when you're a chair person, you have to act like a coach almost. It's like, okay, this is the penalty. You have to select who's kicking the penalty. It's different, right? So yeah, that's how the game is played. And I see in every single line of from HR to finance really. And I have to say the reason why I said I'm skewed on the female talent is more because the reality that the female talent is almost the always the one that got kicked out of the corporate workforce because they have caring responsibility. It's just in the reality. It's not like being a fractional, you need more feminine energy. Not really. Every work needs both yin and yang, the masculine and the feminine energy to succeed. But those who have the situation where, okay, I really want to work, I really want to use my brain, but I cannot help it that I have caring responsibility at home. So I can only work 2 days a week, right? So that is why it is such a good way for the female senior executive to stay in the workforce by becoming a fractional.
As a creator, I used to spend hours re-recording voiceovers to get the perfect tone. But finding reliable voice talent, booking studio time, and editing takes forever, and it can break the bank. That's why I recommend 11 Labs. It generates ultra-realistic AI voices and even clones your own, all in seconds. With natural-sounding speech, multilingual support, and seamless text-to-speech conversion, 11 Labs powers podcasts, audiobooks, training modules, and more. No mic required. Ready to level up your audio? Try it free today at allmylink.me/TC11labs and bring your scripts to life with 11 Labs.
There's so much of that I want to take apart, Rebecca, but I'm going to start with an event that I was at earlier on this year, and there was a company there called Lift As You Climb, and they shared a stat that when I heard it, I went, oh my God, I'm that stat. And I've shared this on another podcast episode before, but I'm going to say it again because I find it super important because you addressed it as well in your intro. At the age of 35 is when most women leave the tech industry. It's like around that 70% mark or something like that. I don't have the exact number, but it's something around that. And I was like, that was me. I was 35 when I left the tech industry because there was nowhere for me to go. Absolutely nowhere for me to go. And that is so commonly heard for not just women with caring opportunities, but just that's the generational ceiling that we've got. And it's a huge challenge with across multiple industries, and women do almost suffer more than their counterparts. And by creating this type of role that is fractional, that allows you to move from company to company, is not only empowering for the individual that is upskilling and learning new ways and adapting and using all of those kind of human essential skills, like dealing with ambiguity, being agile, like understanding, creating new workplace environments, being flexible, all of those cool human skills, but also learning also having the technical knowledge because they've done that in the corporate space previously. They've got those technical, and they've had life thrown into it, right? The caring and everything else that happens in life thrown in. But then when they're moving as a company, isn't that such a great asset to have as an individual to an employer? Then rather than consistently, yes, that person's been with the company 20 years, that's amazing. I see this also with a lot of kind of my friends in that kind of 35 plus age range. They've maybe stayed with a company for 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years. And then they could either never go anywhere, or they get made redundant, or something happens and they're left with such low confidence after it as well. So it's a great opportunity, I think, now for women in that kind of age bracket that you support to think differently about what employment is for them. And doesn't need to be 8 to 5, Monday to Friday at the office that you need to drive or commute to be able to get to. It can be flexible, you can use your knowledge, and you can be agile. But isn't that a mindset shift for a lot of people moving into that space that they need to adapt to?
Yes, I think the biggest shock, I would say, from being a senior executive in a company versus then basically setting up your own shop, become self-employed, is the suddenly you now have become your own CFO, your own assistant, your own everything. Now you have to wear those different hats. And here's the I've been talking about the beauty of being a fractional, the flexibility, the opportunities, because sometimes let's face it, sometimes we want to work in 2 different companies because we like 2 different these, but at the same time, dark side of being on your own is, of course, you have no safety net. You are your own boss. Therefore, you are in charge of your own sales and income. And that is the biggest shock, because in this Web3, I think I saw a great meme the other day, how business owners these days cannot just be a business owner, but also a content creator. And that is, of course, not for everybody. But how are you going to ensure that you're going to get hired consistently if you don't show up consistently to these networking events, showing up on podcasts like this, on LinkedIn, Instagram, all of that, that has become then a new quote unquote deliverable that you as a fractional has to do for yourselves. Half of the time you have to deliver the actual work with your expertise to these clients, but to ensure you have a pipeline of future clients coming in, you have to be the sales and marketing department for yourself. And that is I'm not going to downplay that at all, which is why I'm building this community, because we are now in the same boat where like, oh, I forgot the point that if we are our own boss, it means we are also our own salesperson. And not everybody loves sales. So I'm building this community because like, okay, you know what? Let's all, fractionals gather up, take each other's hand. If you hear something, if you know something that works well for you, why don't you share with us here? If you know that there is a good opportunity in this sector, why don't you share with all of us? So basically, we're now, because we don't have coworkers anymore per se, the community now serve as your coworker, where you ask someone who's already been there a couple of years ahead of you, like, hey, do you use these tools, or do you have an accountant? Do you recommend for me for my limited company? Or if you set up as a self-employed sole trader, you can do as well. So all of these conversation is not being held anywhere else. So that's why I was compelled to build this community, because, hey, we're now all alone. There's no HR department. There's no finance department. So we have to figure out our own insurance and stuff.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it is almost like you're having to run a company at the same time as working or running that space within that company that you're working for. So having a community where you can just talk about that in some sort of way and get advice and support in other people that understand that world as well, but also dealing with the challenges that will come, because they do. They will come with it as well. But I love that you're creating that space for it. So tell me, is that community based in the UK or is it based all over? Tell us a little bit more about the structure of your community, Rebecca.
Yes. So as I mentioned, because fractional work is already so popular and normal in America, I had seen a number of great community that is very American led. And because I'm based here in England, I'm like, oh, what about the people over here? I know it's a small country, but we still need to, it's almost like we're small, and because we're small, we need each other even more. So we're building now a community, a UK-based fractional. We are opening for our European neighbors because, while it's this similar time zone, it's not exactly the same culture, because even between the French and the Germans, they are so different culture. Even the proximity of location and the events that we can attend, that is very, very helpful. So yeah, it's very much at the moment UK-based fractional.
I think you'll find a lot of women that are in that 35 plus that maybe don't have caring opportunities can use this as a big advantage. There's a lot of people within my network that have the flexibility of being able to move country, being able to move to different environments, to be that role within that company. I have a friend that moved to Canada in January, for example, because they have that ability to be agile in their living circumstances and get that experience of going and working for another company elsewhere, even in that fractional space. So I think by broadening your community, you'll bring in a lot more people that maybe don't have the caring opportunities, the caring responsibilities or opportunities, I should say, then that they have a bit more flexibility that they can be. And I think that's a great space that you're bringing for these people. To collaborate as well as part of it, be human and get human skills.
Yes, absolutely. So the future of this community that we're building is actually, we're building a platform that will allow fractionals to then be matched with founders and companies who are looking for
Great.
fractionals, because from the fractionals point of view, we are hyped and ready to work because as you know, we love the work. We just hate the office.
Yeah.
Right? So we are primed and ready to roll. But then at the same time, these founders or even private equity and venture capitalists, they are looking to build their portfolio company as per the stage. So like they know, okay, this is now the 5 to 50 stage growth. So I need to be able to find the exact puzzle piece that would come into this company and deliver until this company is at 50 employees strong. And then the fractional can move on to other project, and then the company can hire another fractional that would fit the bill for the next phase of the growth. So what I'm trying to build with my co-founder Eileen is the AI function that will allow a matchmaking based on not only skill set, of course, but also culture. Because again,
Mm.
people in our level of expertise, it's almost like we don't have time anymore for culture clashes. We don't have time for BS and politics. So we only want to work with people that really gel with us, with the same value sets as us, with the same pace and agility as us. So, and that is why a lot of senior level position in any corporate of any size has had a lot of disruption, is because they are good at what they do, but the CFO and the CMO and the CEO, COO, they may not gel well culture wise.
Yeah.
Right? But with the new way of working with fractional, you now have the opportunity to actually, we get to choose. We don't have to hire only based on expertise, but also based on culture and value system. And this is what we're building. So we're now behind the scenes. We're teaching the machine on how to, okay, this is the type of personality. This is the type of leadership. This is the type of this. So eventually, hiring and getting fractional work is going to be as easy as swiping left or right, like in your dating profile.
I mean, that's going to be beneficial for both sides of being able to look for work as well as being able to find the right person for the role as well. Because as somebody that hires and is actually going through the process of hiring and has hired multiple times, it is very challenging to find the right people because, as you know, people say and don't do. And I like people that do the opposite, that do what they say that they're going to do. And integrity is super important value here for myself, but also at Technology Coaching. And so that's something that we look for in any applicants that we have coming through. And it's a real challenge to kind of work out if that person is actually the right person for the role, because everybody says things, don't they? They say things that they, what's the right word to use? Embellish, maybe? They put shinier aspects on it, I think, a little bit. But so I love that your machine learning tool that you're building here is going to try and mitigate some of that. That's going to help massively when looking for the right people for the role. So that's great to hear.
A lot of people, well, especially because we inherited the system from the industrial age where you hire for muscle, right? You don't care if this person has integrity or not. If you are able-bodied, you work in my factory, right? That used to be the way we hire. But these days, I also see that we can learn a thing or two from the way people are finding their mate as well. Because work is life. We spend at least half of our days at work. So if we don't match, we don't gel with the people that we're working with, why are we living our life like this? We have to be able to be happy at work. So that's why I'm like, again, before maybe in the industrial revolution, when people find mates, hey, as long as you can produce an heir for me, you're going to be my mate. Right? You're going to be my spouse. But these days, no, I want to know if you even believe in the same social justice system as I do. Like if I'm a vegetarian and if you're not, probably we're not even gonna be in a
Yeah.
good same household together. So all of the things like that, and then it's the same. So if we understand that finding a mate or a spouse, we are now becoming more picky, then we should apply the same way of filtering when we are hiring our work buddies, really, because it doesn't matter if who's the boss, you're gonna be partnering day to day, and if you don't even appreciate each other's jokes, that's not gonna work, is it?
I know. It's so important. Values are super, super important. And I love that you're creating a space for that for both sides, both the people that are looking for fractional work as well as the businesses that are looking for fractional support. So that's brilliant. So tell us a little bit more about what you're finding about the future of work at the moment. So we've seen that the future of work has changed post-COVID. I talk a lot about how the future of work is going to change from a digital point of view. Let's hear what you're thinking about and what you're talking about when it comes to the future of work. How do you see it changing currently and how it's going to change as we move into 2020, the way that people are working and living?
Yes. Now, I think what has been really, really great post-COVID with the talent market is now it's almost location agnostic, whereby you can hire someone who's a Harvard graduate, but that person could be in Nepal, you know, and that person probably has an upbringing in Africa because his parents. So now, I think one person has become, every talent has more layers to this person. But they're not just bringing, okay, so this is my degree, this is where I've worked, but they also have all the richness of where they have been in the world. They have traveled, they have experienced different cultures, and they probably come from different culture because these days, again, the next generation, we cannot even tell where they're from anymore, right? Because we're now such a global citizen. So I think that is the level of richness for every talent that I'm seeing. And secondly, now I can see the arbitrage of location as well being the arbitrage of budgeting in terms of talent. For example, for someone who's in the UK or Europe or North America, where you cannot afford to hire top talent at the minimum living wage of your countries, but now you can hire a similar level of expertise, but in countries that has lower living cost. So you can then still, I mean, back in the day of outsourcing or offshoring, people are thinking about entry level jobs. We can just offshore it to India, to Latin America, to Africa. But now it's not only for the entry level jobs or the repetitive tasks, because again, AI can do that for you. You no longer have to offshore it anywhere. Bots will do that. So now what I'm seeing, people are hiring managerial level expertise, but in different locations, regardless what passport they're holding. But the fact that they are in location where it's more affordable for them to live, therefore they're charging lower fees versus those who are living in expensive towns like Tokyo, London, Paris, New York, right? So now everybody has a little bit of more equity than before, because back when I was living in Jakarta in Indonesia, if I see a great opportunity in Singapore, for example, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Unless I actually relocate to Singapore, I cannot even dream of it. But these days, I so can. I can apply for, I'm here in England, I can apply for things in California, right? So it's a very different and very more equitable in that sense. It's just that we now have to then adopt the technology that will allow us to work asynchronously, because now, back to the value system again, if you have that level of trust and integrity and good communications, you don't have to be awake at the same time as your employer, for example, right? because you are serving the same purpose. You're serving the same goal. You don't need micromanagement. So one can be in Ecuador, one can be in Manhattan. It doesn't matter. We're all working towards the same goal, and everybody gets paid. Everybody gets their healthy margin. Business is going well. So that is my utopian that I'm working towards, I guess.
I really love that, Rebecca, because we started to see that a lot in the tech world as well, of where a lot of roles changed from being in-house post-COVID. And actually, it's not just the tech world, but across all industries, they were looking for more remote working, which gave them opportunities to hire in different locations. And I suppose that's a real big benefit of being a fractional, is that you're not restricted to your current location. You are opportunistic in where you can go and work and work for those companies that you never thought that you probably could have worked for before because of the location, the physical location of having to be there. And so that's a real benefit of having this kind of global outreach and this community space where not only you're going to have fractionals, but also the companies that are looking for that as well. So there's a lot of ambiguity, I think, this change that's happening, a lot of pivoting of businesses, especially the larger businesses, to look for better workers, maybe outside of their current demographic as well. So that's really, really great to hear. Okay, so if people want to join that community, we've got a little short link that will be shared in the description and also in all of the show notes. And I'll just read it out just now as well so that you've got it. It's bit.ly/join fractionals match. And that's where you can sign up and Rebecca will take it from there and join that community. So we've talked a lot today about really what fractionals do, what it's kind of made up of, what the best sides as the fractional person, but also the employee. And we've talked about the future of work. So before we finish up this recording today, Rebecca, what are kind of 3 things that you would like to share with our audience? So you can look at it from 2 points of views. You can look at it as the person that is the fractional, that's maybe wanting to move into fractional work or already currently is doing it, but then also the businesses that maybe need some more support and some confidence on then being able to go towards a fractional person and employing. Have a think about what you want to share in these last few tips.
Yes. Well, the first thing I want to share is, I think, in general, for everybody's listening, who's entrepreneurial or they're climbing their career ladders, I think now is the best time to actually be alive, in my opinion. Take advantage of all of the information, all the technology, upskill yourself, upgrade yourself, because gosh, people, like, I'm now 42, so I'm now so envious of the current generation where they can learn anything within minutes, right? Whereas before we had to cram books and books. So I think now, my advice for everyone: forget your age. I get asked this a lot, like, Rebecca, I'm in my 50s, I think I'm over the hill. Or, Rebecca, I'm just in my 20s, I think I'm way too green. Forget the whole thing. Now the timeline is completely blurred because everybody has access to the same information, and it's now, you don't have to pay tuition fee to be as smart as those Harvard graduates, for example. So I think now, absorb and live your life to the fullest. If you have an interest or hobby or whatever, pursue it. It's now, I think, the era of an and, not or. Decades ago, we have had to choose either this or that, this or that. Now you can have multiple passion, you can have multiple gigs at the same time. So live your life to the fullest. It's literally, life is way too short to be stuck in one path. That's one big advice for everybody. And then my second advice would be, again, life is too short to work with people that you don't like. And this is valid for employer and employee. So if you are now in a crossroad of hiring or being hired, think about it. You can find the money from anywhere, I promise you. But your mental health, your creativity will only flourish if you work with the right person alongside you. I promise you. We have done so many failures of mishire, bad hire, and it's not worth it. Don't force it. It's gonna be your day to day. It's gonna be your bread and butter, live and breathe, everything. So yes, really choose the people that you work with. And thirdly, I think the portion of fun that we a lot of us forget in the future in the field of work. People used to define fun by if you go to work and your work provides pizza and beer or has a ping pong table, that means it's a fun way of working. Not really. A fun way of working is where you don't have any boundaries of walls or SOP, that you can be so creative even when you're given perimeters such as a small budget. But if you can really then have fun with whatever small budget you have, there's no more, like stiff, everybody has to wear a tie and a suit. So does your thinking. Your thinking should also be free from the suit and tie. So we can all like genuinely have fun when we're doing our own stuff. So I think that's it. So enjoy life, work only with the people that you like, and have fun while doing it.
I mean, that's vastly different than what people associate with the word work. So I think that's a great positive way to kind of get people thinking and getting them to think differently about what they do for more than half of their day and who they spend their time with. And really, you get to choose, you get to decide and make that the best for what you want it to be and how you spend your and live your life in that way. So amazing, Rebecca. Thank you so much. So I'm going to share everything that Rebecca and where you can find her in the show notes. Upgrading Women is the main website, but there's that fractional match community as well will also be shared in there. And just thank you so much for coming on and being super clear and helping the listeners understand more about why the future is fractional and that it doesn't need to be the same way that it was. So thinking differently, being more human, being more creative is all part of that as well. So thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Digital Dominators. I hope today's episode gave you something practical or at least a bit of a boost to keep things going in this mad digital world. If you're enjoying the podcast, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up. There's loads more good stuff on the way and some brilliant guests lined up too. And if you fancy going a bit deeper, come and join the Digital Dominators community. It's totally free and it's where I share bonus trainings, podcast extras and tools to help you build confidence with your digital skills. You'll also get access to my social media prompt calendar so you can finally stop staring at that blank screen wondering what to post. Just head to technologycoachingonline.com/digital dominators to get started. Alright, that's it from me just now. Stay curious, keep showing up, and I'll catch you in the next one.